What is up, gentlemen, and, well, according to my YouTube analytics, gentlemen, I'm here with our Week 5 slate of games. We've got 7 games here, and the series is between the Specs and the Jerry Evolution, which is coached by my pal Hiker Toad and Jake. And first off here, we've got a match between H. Colin 3, also known as Cool Me Down B, and Wombology. And of course, Colin would be representing the Specs, as he's the one with the toxic pecs. That is the clear distinction here. And we've got we did not have great matchups this week. We had a few we were really scratching our head dealing with. This is the one that was the worst, actually, because when we look at the Pokemon that are the biggest problems to this team, we have Celesteela and Nidoqueen, which we'd already identified as big problems when we faced them earlier in this season. And then you throw in Mega Glade, which is just about as bad as any of them, and little old Colin here was scratching his head trying to figure this one out. But he assured me that H. Colin 3 with Kartana in his hands cannot be defeated, so I go into this match with the utmost confidence in our player. And let's get this game on the road. Wait a minute, what is hyper fast feature? There's a new speed called hyper fast. Let's see it. Oh, that's too fast. That's too fast. I respect your hustle though, Showdown. I am going to use that feature. He's going to lead off Zygarde, go for Protect. Not sure why he protected there when it could have set up hazards if it was Shuka. Anyway, Queen comes in. It does set up hazards here, so that's a possibility. It goes for an Earth Power on the Pex, but Pex getting off quality damage on the Nidoqueen. It will pop its berry and then go into Aerodactyl. I'm not sure I would have made that play because Wumbo did know that obviously he wasn't going to let the Toxapex go down right there, so he basically had a liberty to click any move he wanted to predict a switch in, and Ice Beam would be the likely one, so I wasn't sure exactly about that play. And it is my job as a commentator of Pokemon, as an expert on the subject, to rip into H. Colin over some of his plays, so I've got to let you guys know when he does something stupid. He's going to sub up as the Hydreigon comes in. That's going to be an AV Hydreigon, so it's going to take nothing. Probably AV. No, it's roosting. It's just bulky, very bulky. Pikachu sucks. That's all it did to bulky? Man, Pikachu sucks. Bulu is going to go for a superpower and do nothing to the Celesteela, which is going to heavy slam it. It will get static though, so woo. We take those. Now down 4-6, Zygarde's going to come in and it's going to sub up. Alamola comes in, and we are happy to throw off a Toxic on that. Ice Beam will break the sub, and Zygarde will get some recovery up. Zygarde here goes for Protect to get a little bit more recovery here. Aloe continues to go for Ice Beam, then switches into Toxapex. Not sure exactly why. Pex is going to go for Scalds here, and Alamomola is going to get weakened, then go into Celesteela, trying to heal up. Pex is going to go for Recover again. I don't really know why, because it was in a point where a regen would have brought it back to full. Celesteela's in, he goes into Zygarde, strategically dodges that Leech Seed, and then subs up here. Celesteela goes for an HP Ice. Zygarde is going to Protect here. These turns, I guess, get a little boring with the sub and the Protect. Here, the Celesteela goes for Protect, but Leech Seed's going to cover that. He'll go for 1,000 arrows, and then Celesteela is going to get paralyzed again, exactly as we drew it up. Goes into Alamomola here, and Alamomola getting nice and chipped a little bit. Goes for Protect here. Not sure why he didn't arrows there to keep it low while he had the chance. Does go for arrows here. Gets Ice Beamed. Now Aloe is going to be in regen up to full range. Zygarde's going to sub up, and Aloe is going to Wish up. Now it's getting too much Toxic, so it has to switch out. Stila is going to take the 1,000 arrows with a plum, but it's now smacked down. But as you're going to see, Wumbo has a plan here. And at this point is when you want to switch out Zygarde, because Wumbo at this point can just PP stall it by going in and out of Alomomola to Celesteela. But instead what we're going to have is a lot more turns of Zygarde, a lot more turns of it. And Wumbo is just, I'm getting ahead of myself, but it's smart of Wumbo. He's just strategically draining the thing's PP as he needs to. As boring as it is, it's tactical on his end. Bulu is just going to superpower the Celesteela, resign to the inability to beat it at this point. Pex will come in, get hidden powered, go for Scalds, doing nothing, then Aloe comes in. We get something different with Cart on Rabombi, but Rabombi is just going to quiver up, not fearing the Smart Strike, which we do not have. Just the Leaf Blade to hit it. They're going to go into the Celesteela, trying to preserve every little bit of differential they can get, even though it's not particularly important here. Celesteela will take down the Katana, a Flamethrower, and then Colin's going to bring back in the Zygarde, and then we've got more Aloe and Celesteela on Zygarde action, which I will spare you guys. While watching this game, was not spared this action, and I got to watch it in excruciating detail. But the Bee's going to get healed up. More Aloe, which I'm sparing you. Eventually, Nidoqueen's going to be in on the Pex. Pex will barely survive, and then Baneful Bunker it. His play here, I guess he seems to think it's just... Oh no, it's not click and protect until the thing goes down. He actually pulls the switch into Zygarde, which Wumbo will make the most incredible prediction and catch it. Then go into the Glade, which we will strategically burn. Then we'll go for Baneful Bunker. We only need about 15 to get this thing beat. But instead we dodge a Zen Headbutt and recover up strategically. Get a Baneful Bunker as he bulks up. He goes for Zen Headbutt. We will scald the thing and get some nice chip on this thing. We just need about, 7 protects in a row here to get the thing down. He goes for Zen here. Oh, but we are going to predict the Zen missing. Not a 6-0. Woo! We are only going to lose this game 5-0 to Wumbo. And, yeah, it's a great way to start this week off. This was the first game of the week. Not a great one. I do think there's definitely room for improvement on the way this game was played by Colin, but the biggest issue was that it's a really, really shitty matchup. Real tough one for us, but yeah. On top of the matchup being shitty, Wumbo did play it very well, and that's why it was as big of a discrepancy as it was. You don't see a lot of 5-0 games DPL, but Wumbo did play a lot better than our very own Cool Me Down H Colin would be the AKA. So, who's next in the hot seat? Well, next up, I've just been criticizing some of his play there, so let's get one of my games going on here. And we've got a newly Gen 6 game. Not only is it my first time playing Gen 6 in DPL this season, it is my first time playing Gen 6 since Gen 6. I thought it would be fun to try it, frankly. I got an itching. I wanted to get in there and try one of these games. And I'm going to be going up against their co-captain, Jake. And he's got a team here that looks a little bit similar to our team here, right? We both got the tier 1 Z using in Gen 7 generally, not so much Gen 6. Garchomp and Landorus Therian with the Quad Ice Week. Then we've got both the Water Ground in Quagsire and Seismitoad. Then we both got the Mega Gardevoir. Then we both got the Heatran. And then we've both got the Weavile. So basically the only damn thing that's different about our teams here is he's got Quillfish and I've got Gothorita. Everything else pretty much the damn same. And I will say before I get into this video that Jake has made a more thoughtful commentary than this is going to be. I'll probably spend maybe in the ballpark of about 10 minutes covering this because I've got a bunch of different battles in this video. He had a longer video with a more explained analysis on this that I will have in the description if you guys want to go check that out and get more detail on this and some of what he was thinking in this game, as you'll just be getting what I'm thinking in this one. And yeah, I wanted to lead off with Mega Gardevoir in this game. Basically, I couldn't wall this team at all. Really, I couldn't wall Garchomp. I couldn't wall Weavile. I couldn't wall Gardevoir, so I just had to be ready to get in there. And really, my game plan was to start off 6-5, and then once I started off 6-5, I needed to make trades with him, where he'd get a kill, then I'd get a kill throughout the game, and then eventually try to win 1-0. That was my strategy for this game, and Gardevoir gave me the best chance to start off 6-5, so that's what I'm going to lead with. He's going to lead off with Coolfish, and I lead off with Gardevoir. I'm going to trace his Intimidate, and then I'm just going to sub up, which will cover him staying in, and it will cover him switching out. He's going to outspeed me there, so he is damn near max speed, as I am max speed with my Gardevoir, so 284 before I Mega Evolve. And now that I'm subbed up, I'm going to imagine that he's not just going to want to let the Coolfish go down here, so I'm actually just going to go for Hidden Power Ground, which covers the Heatran switching in. And we know these calcs because we are also a Max Speed F Heatran with Assault Vest, that he is a Max Speed F Assault Vest. So that is something to take note of. I'm just going to click Hidden Power Ground. And again, I'm going to click Hidden Power Ground here because it's not like he has a great switching on that if he wanted to save the Heatran. Garchomp comes in, but I'm actually just going to go for Hyper Voice. I know he can take me out with an Earthquake, but I do have a Landorus sitting right there. And if he does make a prediction for Landorus, or if he does get up Rock Switch, this thing is 100% his Rocker because Heatran was Assault Vest. If he did want to go for that, then my play was to click Hyper Voice, and I will do that here, and he does go for Rocks, but he actually shows the Roselli Berry to take the Hyper Voice, which is pretty interesting here. Now I know he's going to go for either, it could be Earthquake, it could be Iron Tail, it could be Poison Jab, but he'd go for something like that to hit the Gardevoir here, or he could actually just pull a switch here. Either way, my play is to go into Landorus, which covers all of those options. Going to drop his attack and take a Poison Jab. Fortunately, I'm not going to get poisoned. I'll go for my Earthquake. He actually did not bring his one ground resist or immunity, which was the Zapdos. So I'm free to click Earthquake there, which will take him down. I'm actually relieved to not see the Zapdos, but there is the Quagsire, which I know can take Earthquakes. He's going to bring in the Quillfish here, and I'm going to want to switch out into my Seismitoad here. And he is actually going to make an aggressive but good play here and get up to Spike. I'm going to switch out here into my Landorus, wanting to match him an aggressive play for an aggressive play here. As he's getting up his hazards here, which seems like he's just intent to trade this thing for hazards, I would like to get him my hazard, and I know with his attack dropped I can take a waterfall from this thing as it's Gen 6 and there's no liquidation on it. I know I can take a waterfall. I want to get up my rocks, which is actually just going to open things up later for me to bring back in my Landorus and click Earthquake. It's a priority for me to get those up, especially for the Weavile, which he had a few threats from my team, but Weavile was by far the scariest. The thing scared the hell out of me, and I'm going to get my rocks up. He'll go into the Quagsire not wanting to get Earthquaked, and as Quagsire comes in, I'm going to switch into my Gothorita, trying to get rid of his one Earthquake answer, but he makes a great play here going into his Weavile. I am not going to bother trying to save this thing, and Knockoff will take me out. So here I'm going to go into my Weavile, and I'm going to take a lot here from the hazards, and that's a significant thing here, because there's definitely a consequence to me bringing in my Weavile here. So my thought process is that he has to think that He has to think that if I'm going to take all this damage and bring this thing in, I am just trying to trade him, or at least go for the speed tie. He's got to think that I am just going to try and take down the Weavile here with low kick, most likely. I guess I could be Scarf, but sorry, I just heard a noise out there. I could be Scarf here, but I don't know if he's actually going to fall for that much. But I do think that since he can more comfortably save this than I can comfortably bring in and out my Weavile, I have to think that he might just want to go into Quagsire here, or even Quillfish, which could just take a low kick with a Plum. And I'm actually going to click the Pursuit, which, if he does switch this thing out, would put him in range of rocks. But if he doesn't switch this thing out, I'm going to be in a real shitty position here. So I'm going to make a big risk here and go for the Pursuit. And he does switch the thing out, and it will now be in range of rocks, which is going to make things a lot easier for me as that thing goes down here. I'm going to switch out my Weavile here because I know that based on what I've seen from his set, well, I don't know for sure, but I know that most likely this thing's safe to come in on it. And he's going to go for a Scald here. He was concerned about me being Rain Dance. I learned that from his analysis. He was scared of me being Rain Dance. And actually in prep, I did flirt a little bit with having a Rain Dance set because I did like its offensive potential against his team. But it did have to be kind of a weird mix set to really open up some potential, and anything that could kind of come in on Weavile was an asset for me because nothing else on my team looked even close to Weavile switching. So I'm just going to be a bulky, physically defensive water absorb set, and I'm going to go for my rest to get rid of that poison and get my health back. And I'm going to go for my Sleep Talk. He brings in the Gardevoir, and I'm hoping for Toxic. Instead, I get Earth Power, which is pretty damn good in itself. I'll take that. I'm going to switch in here to my Heatran, thinking that in the face of a Seismitoad, he is going to have to click Hyper Voice. I don't think he would necessarily have the liberty to make a prediction and go for Hidden Power Ground. Instead, he shows the Trick Room, which is actually a little bit scary. Not what I was expecting to see there, but a little bit frightening. And I am going to go for my Magma Storm here, which is just the move I can most safely click to get this thing in range of pretty much everything it needs to be in range of, including another hit from the Heatran. If he is min speed, he would underspeed me and go first, but he is not, so that makes things better. Also, fortunately, it has to be said, Magma Storm landed. That is not something that always happens, but it did there. And he's going to hit me with a Hidden Power Ground, which I can take. And I will click my Earth Power here to finish the thing off. He's going to go into its Quagsire now, and no point in me saving the Heatran, of course. He's going to go for a Scald here. I'm going to go to my Seismitoad here because my thought process is that I obviously want to get a Toxic off on this thing. That's huge. I do not want to let this thing get hit off on my Gardevoir when I don't have to if I bring it in later. And I just want to get this thing poisoned. I know I'll burn off my Sleep Talk here, which could be anything, and no matter what he does, next turn will be faster, and it'll give me the choice if I want to click Toxic or if I want to click Rest. So I'll bring in the Seismitoad here. He'll go into the Weavile and sack that thing off to the rocks, and I'll burn my last turn of Sleep Talk, getting a bum-ass rest. But in the turn, it didn't matter. Quillfish comes in here, and I'm just going to make the really safe play going in a Weavile in case he's something like Hidden Power Grass, I guess. Which is not likely, but you never know. And in that position, I just have to be as safe as possible. Now that he's mixed up moves, I know for sure that my Gardevoir is going to be faster in this thing, and I know that almost definitely he's not going to take a Psychic. Regardless, if he does take a Psychic, then I know that I believe the thing will be, no matter what, put in range of rocks, so it's not like he'll be able to save it. Gardevoir comes in, clicks the Psychic. He actually goes into the Quagsire in case I wanted to click Hidden Power Ground. He's going to go for Protect here, trying to wear me down to the Toxic, but I will be able to break through his attempted double Protect and take that thing down. And then Quillfish will come out last and be able to drop to my Psychic, giving me a 3-0 win here, and nod the series up at 1-1 and make my record 2-1. So not overly insane for a record, but it's relieving to be back in the positive column after having a rough week 1 against JJ, who just seems to have a knack for beating me. That's JJ's superpower. Some men have super speed, some men can code. JJ is able to go Super Saiyan when he plays me in Draft League. And yeah, I'm happy to go back in the positive column. This was a real fun game. Well, it's fun when you watch it after the fact. I wasn't having fun playing it because, of course, there's a few turns that made me nervous, and it was a tighter one, but 26 turns with a few twists and turns here. That made it interesting, so I thought it was a fun game. Next up here, we have got our second new acquisition in What Happens in Pokemon, aka What Happens in Pokemon. Had to throw in one old man joke here, or else it wouldn't be one of my videos. And he is going up against Prime Dorkman, aka... oh god, what is it? I know it's Ice. And we shortened it to that. Ice Demon Gray, that's it. Boom. And we get this matchup here. This was one of the matchups that was less shitty for us. We had a few bad ones. This wasn't so much one of the stinkers, but we did have some issues with Infernape, and there's the potential for Zam to be a little bit annoying too. Oh, and we had not much for Rotom, but Rotom... as Rotom can be annoying, it's not something that can run a team like Infernape can. So there's some stuff we can do about it. He's going to lead off with Persian, we lead off with Bronzong, and that's going to prompt us to switch into the Arcanine, not wanting to take too much damage from a knockoff or foul play. It does go for the knockoff and takes as much chip as we do. He switches into Rotom, but Ian makes a good play clicking Toxic, and that thing is really nice to have Toxic this early. He goes into Bronzong as the Rotom actually shows to be Reflect, which is interesting. It's going to Volt out into Quillfish, and Ian's going to go for Stealth Rock. Quillfish is going to go for Rain Dance, and Ian's going to go for a Psywave, which covered this thing switching out, and also the potential to lull him into a full sense of security for Psychic to take it out the next turn, as Psychic would not have taken the thing out from full. Here, now that the thing has clicked Rain Dance, which is not what we were expecting from this thing, he is just going to click the Psychic and attack the threat that's in front of him. He goes for Liquidation, and my dog is behind me trying to get some attention, so I will deal with that. The Quillfish is going to go for Liquidation and get dropped. Landorus comes in, and Ian is going to go into Tapu Fini, which was not the correct play. If Landorus is going to come in on Bronzong at 50%, there's one move it's going to even possibly click. The only move it will click is Knockoff, and at this point, as you see Fini's Scarfed, look at his switch-ins and how he deals with a Scarfed Moonblast. He does not. So Ian, he probably should have went into something like, I guess he could have went into Weavile, but that might have been a little too aggressive. Weavile or Arcanine, I would say, would most likely be the play there. Would have wanted to go into one of those. Maybe more so Arcanine, because it's not as important as Weavile is. Weavile has a better matchup than Arcanine does here, so it wouldn't be that big of a risk. You wouldn't think ever he would really click Earthquake in that position. He'd have to be a madman. So the play was not to go Fini here, and I spoke to Ian about that after. I said, listen, you gotta get your shit together, or we're gonna kick you to the side of the curve. And here he's gonna make another questionable play in clicking Ice Beam. I mean, I get that he was scared of the Landorus if it was potentially a setup variant, but considering a click knockoff, that means almost definitely it's going to be a choice variant, and since you saw it's not banded, almost definitely it's Scarf. which means that 100% it's going to be switching out. So Moonblast would be the clear play here. And if he did click Moonblast, he would have been able to 2-hit KO the Rotom here. Not able to do it now. He's just going to go for a Moonblast on the Rotom, and Rotom's going to be able to get up dual screens. And he's going to defog the screens away, but that's also going to defog his own rocks away. Rotom will Volt out. Infernape comes out, and this is going to be the last questionable play Ian's going to make. He will later get his shit together, but this is another questionable play we had to speak to him about. Again, here he should have went into Arcanine, because Infernape coming out here like this on the Feeny, like it's in rain, it would die to a Surf, so he would never bring this out if there was a potential for him to not kill the Feeny here, which means that he's going for a Z move here, or potentially like a Banded, Gunk Shot, or Thunder Punch, or like maybe a Specs Grass Knot. But in those scenarios, more likely the Z scenario, you would want to go into Arcanine here, which could take them, and then, well, it wouldn't be able to Morning Sun up, it would be potentially able to get a Toxic off on this thing, or something like that, and it would be much less useful than Tapu Fini. So, there goes this turn here, as the Fini is going to drop to the Acid Downpour, and it will go down here. Then we are going to bring in the Arcanine, which I wish we brought in a turn before, which will go for the Will-O-Wisp as the Rotom comes in. Again, not really sure about that, but Flamethrower will take the Rotom out, so no harm done. Landorus will then come in, and he is going to bring in the Bronzong. Landorus will lock itself into Stealth Rock, and he is... Actually, it's not Scarf, but that was most likely from what we had. He's instead going to U-turn, which means that most likely, seeing the set, it's probably going to be something like Yachi. Yachi is more where our head was at this point. Bronzong is going to be able to get up the rocks on this thing. Persian is going to go for a knockoff, which Bronzong is barely going to live, and then get a Toxic off on the Persian. And then Persian will take it out with another knockoff and go down to 66. Lopunny is going to come in on this thing, and Landorus Therian will come in as a response to it. Lopunny is going to Mega Evolve and go for a Fake Out. Now, Ian has a choice to make here. He could try to switch the thing out, potentially sacking off Arcanine, which doesn't have much value. Or he could go for a Return, and most likely to a KO the thing, since Landorus, unless it is Z-move, which we think probably not at this point, unless it is Z-move, it won't be able to take out the Lopunny, so that's what he decides to do, just go for the 2-hit KO on this thing, and he knows that he has the Pokemon to make trades if the game is 4-3 for him. And he's going to go for Return here. Landorus is going to respond with an Earthquake, but it is going to crit the Lopunny, which was absolutely massive at this point in the game. Gengar will have to come in now instead of up 4-3, down 3-4. Gengar will click Shadow Ball, which doesn't let anything come in. He's going to go into the Persian, and Ian is going to go into the Arcanine. Persian's going to go for a knockoff, which Arcanine will take with a Plum. Persian will go for Parting Shot out here into the Alakazam, and Ian goes for the Flamethrower. Ian's going to leave the Arcanine in to die to Psychic, I guess. Yeah, Psychic's going to take that thing out. And Gengar will have to come in here, I guess. I'm not sure. Let me think. No, this isn't really a 50-50. He's just got to click Shadow Ball here. That's his only play. Alakazam's going to go for Protect. Shadow Ball will bounce off the Protect, of course. Persian comes in on a Shadow Ball and will take the thing out, and that thing will die. Infernape comes in, and I don't know if I call this one a 50-50 because it's a little bit more complicated than that. Infernape, if it clicks Close Combat, or if it clicks Flare Blitz, then Gengar is able to come back in and be able to revenge the thing. And if it clicks Mach Punch as we go into Weavile, then Gengar comes in and is not able to KO the thing with anything except for Psychic, which would not take out the Zam. So we have to think about if it clicks Mach Punch, then our play is to leave the Gengar in. If it clicks Flare Blitz, the play is to go into Weavile. And we are going to have to make this decision, but we don't know for sure that it is Mach Punch. So that kind of swings this decision a little bit on the way towards going to Weavile, where that might be the more intelligent play objectively for us to make. And we will go into Weavile here, hoping it goes for Flare Blitz. Infernape will go for the Flare Blitz, which is nice because that recoil is going to put in range of Shadow Ball, which is going to allow Gengar to come in, take down the Infernape, and then take down the Zam with Shadow Ball and just clean things up here. So Ian is going to get a win in his debut, despite some plays that almost made me drop him mid-game. He's going to start off his DPL season 1-0. You know what? You know what they say, a win's a win. That's about it, right? It doesn't really matter about anything else. There's no style points for doing it big. We get a win on our record with this one, and we will take it. Next up here, we've got my boy Vesuvius going up against Roarpers or whatever. I've never tried to pronounce his name. I've only read it in my mind, never tried to pronounce it. I'm just going to call him the R word. That's what I'm going to say. R word. That's what I'm going to call him, because I'm not going to try and pronounce his name. Not bothering. And this is a Gen 6 game. This was a matchup that Vest was not pleased with. He is having some issues with it. I don't think it's one of the worst ones that we had, but it certainly wasn't one that I'd say was much in our favor. It wasn't sexy. There's a few things that were potentially a big problem, like the Mega Slowbro and Tyranitar, which we don't really have a switch in for a Bandit Crunch. So without further ado, let's get the show on the road. Vest is going to lead off with Latios, and they will lead off with Rotom. Vest is going to switch out into the Frauthorn. The R word is actually just not going to make a prediction, attack what's in front of him and click close combat, so big start for him there. Clef will come in on the Latios, which is going to switch into the Immunity Snorlax, which is immune from the Toxic. Snorlax is going to go for Toxic itself. I'm not sure if Toxic was a play, because I was thinking before the turn that I would have actually just clicked Earthquake there. And since Infernape came in, of course, the brilliant predicting mind that is SpecsTar was right. It also would have covered the Tyranitar or the Excadrill, which is less likely. Also, I don't know if you guys are hearing this, but my voice keeps cracking, and I got like no damn clue why. But yeah, I guess you guys enjoy this with a little bit of voice cracking. Instead, he goes for Toxic, which covers Slowbro coming in, which I don't think it would, or it covers Rotom coming in, which definitely wouldn't. But I guess you know what they say about hindsight, since we're looking at it hindsight now. T-Tar is going to come in here, and Snorlax goes in Latios, so good play by Roar there. Vest knows that Pursuit was something that was going to come up, so switching was wasting his time. He was just going to go for 2 more Pursuit, or 2 more Earthquakes. His Roar will go for 2 more Pursuits. Slowbro comes in, his Lantern just clicks a U-turn. No, Talonflame just clicks a U-turn into Lantern. Rotom comes in on the Talonflame, and Snorlax will come in on that. Dodge a Leaf Storm, and then the thing will volt out, showing it's not choice locked. Infernape comes in, and Vest does make the Earthquake play this time, so good play there. Snorlax comes in, or T-Tar came in on the Snorlax, and Vest had to switch out, even though he knows the thing's a Banded Pursuit, because the thing could have very well just went for Superpower, particularly since he's shown Pursuit and he hasn't shown Superpower. But again, the R word's going to make a good play and click the Pursuit, which is going to make it, it's going to be a big turn for him that gains him a lot of momentum. Now we'll have a Gligar versus Clef matchup. Vest will Toxic the Clef, but it's going to be Magic Guard. He'll go for Taunt, preventing the Clef from getting up rocks. Slowbro comes in on the Gligar, which was not going to want to mess with potentially an Ice Beam, or I guess maybe even a Scald Burn. Lantern comes in, volts out, Gligar comes in on the clef, taunts the thing, and he's just trying to slowly get some chip down with Gligar. He makes a good play clicking Toxic as the Rotom comes in, and then Snorlax into the Rotom. As Clef sets up rocks in the Snorlax, Vest is going to go for a Curse. And here the Clef is going to go for Moonblast, and Vest is going to show to actually have the Heavy Slam and take down the Clefable there. X-Control is going to come in, but Vest knows he's not going to be able to take a hit from this thing, especially since we knew Life Orb was a decent chance. But he's actually going to show the Magnet Rise here, which is a little bit interesting, but it doesn't beat Gligar. So, not really certain of the point, aside from the style points he was acquiring from that. Lantern comes in on Slowbro and is going to get Toxic, which is interesting. Basically, I said before the game that I thought Slowbro would either be Calm Mind to attacks, or it would be Slack Off, Scald, Toxic, and Flamethrower, so most likely that's what it is now that it shows the Toxic. Lantern's going to Heal Bell itself off as Rotom comes in. Then Vest is just going to sack off the Snorlax to the Rotom, since not much it can do at 16%. Talonflame's going to come in as the thing is dropped to get its Roost off, but it is not able to do much for the Slowbro, so it's going to have to U-turn out again into Lantern. And then Roar is going to go once again into Rotom, knowing that Lantern can't do anything to it. And again, put us in a bit of a tricky position. Vest is going to have to go Gligar on it this time, as it misses Leaf Storm. Not sure if it would have been able to roost up on that. I don't really know what the damage was for that. Gligar Toxic, Roost, Slowbro comes in. It takes a little bit of chip. Lantern comes in on Slowbro once again, and it's going to Water Absorb the Scald, which is pretty interesting prep by Vest. He was really worried about Slowbro, and Lantern really covered that. Rotom's going to come in again and pop its Citrus, and again put us in a tricky position. Vest is going to go into Talonflame, predicting the Leaf Storm, but it's going to go for Pain Split, not do much. Talon roosts up as Slowbro comes in, U-turns, and then once again into Lantern, no surprise there. Gets Toxic, and let me guess, Rotom? How'd I know? Lantern's going to Heal Bell, again a tricky position trying to switch into Rotom. He goes into Talonflame again, and it actually clicks Volt Switch this time, so now pretty much we know the game's going to be over, as basically the Rotom comes in on the Lantern here, Pain Splits, and Slowbro is able to beat the Gligar no matter what. So the Rotom will go for Leaf Storm here, take that thing out, Slowbro, Rotom, Slowbro, and then eventually Mega Bro will take down the Gligar here, and we are going to get the series knotted up once again at 2-2. Not the most exciting game here, but it was one that was my voice is going to stop cracking. It was one that was well played by the R-Word. Probably because I'm talking too fast, but that's what you got to do when you got 100 battles. And holy shit, we're already at 38 minutes. I am not making good time here. Oh well, I hope you guys like long-ass videos. You better. Here we got Blitzburg versus Zazo, which is a match between two of the only 4-0 players in DPL right now, making it a particularly interesting matchup. We'll have a Hydreigon matchup, going to force a switch and U-turn. Togekiss is going to flinch the Nidoking, which would have taken the thing out with a Sludge Wave, or at least done a ton to the thing. Nidoking's going to switch out into the Suicune, which is going to get a Scald off on the Togekiss. And then Togekiss is going to go for an Air Slash, flinch it. Then go for another Air Slash, and surprise, surprise, flinch it. Suicune will then switch into Togekiss, which is going to get Air Slashed, as has been the theme of the game. Bronzong comes in on a Thunder Wave, and Blitz is going to bring in Suicune now that it has a chance to get in and rest up. Raikou comes in on the Suicune. Blitz is going to go into Hydreigon, my bad. Raikou will sub up. Hydreigon's going to go for a Flamethrower. Not exactly sure why he Flamethrowered, but I'm sure he had his reasons. Probably didn't want to give Lucario a justified boost. He's going to miss a Draco on the Tentacruel, which is going to take the thing out with her. Or, did he miss it on the... Oh, hold up. Yeah, he missed it on the Tentacruel. I'm well behind here. The thing's going to go for Gleam and take down the Hydreigon. Zam's going to come in. It's going to trace Levitate, miss a Focus Blast. Just one of those games. Bronzong goes for Gyro Ball, which Suicune will eat. Togekiss comes in, Suicune will Sleep Talk the Roar, unfortunately into Raikou, which is not the ideal. Zam's going to come in on the Raikou, which you don't want to be in a position where Zam is a Raikou switch in, but such is where we are. He's going to click Shadow Ball to hit the thing, breaking the sub. Raikou's going to get a ton of damage off in this thing. He's then going to go for Focus Blast as the thing goes into, or as Zazo goes into the thing that's Bronzong. Goes for Shadow Ball here. Bronzong's going to dodge the para because Justice does not exist. Nidoking comes in and subs up. Tentacruel's going to go for Surf, and Nidoking's going to go for Earth Power, but that's an Assault Vest Tentacruel, which was pretty good prep by my man Zazzles. It's going to go for a Surf as the Suicune comes in, and it's actually going to have the Acid Spray to 1v1 the Suicune. It's not as cool as the Tentacruel I had in the mock, by the way. I had a Tentacruel that was better for taking advantage of Suicune. My Tentacruel in the mock was Substitute, Sword Stance, Poison Jab, and Waterfall. I'm just throwing it out there that's a lot cooler than Assault Vest, for the record. Togekiss is going to come in, click Air Slash a few times. Terrakion comes in, clicks Stone Edge as Zong comes in. Crocodile comes in, and Nidoking is sacked off to the Earthquake. Then it will get a Moxie Boost, and Terrakion gets to come back in. He's going to go for Stone Edge, predicting Togekiss, but the Crocodile is actually just going to stay in and go for an Earthquake. And that is GG for Zazzles, who's going to move on to 5-0. No, he's the second to move on to 5-0 behind my man Draw15, who's the first to move to 5-0. So shout out to Draw15, and then Zazzles. Not a fun game to watch, and according to my man Blitzberg, not a fun game to play, but it's not really like a cut and dry steal. I don't really know how the game would have unfolded if shit wasn't a little bit funky at the start. My man Zazzles has reported to me that he believes he's confident that he still would have won it without all that stuff, so me not really knowing, I will defer to his expertise on the subject. And here we have got, in a 2-3 series now, unfortunately for us, we've got to win our last two games, and the first one is going to be Vergi 1 versus the Bronson, who was the first player nominated in this draft for some unknown reason. Fergie bringing the old Rain team and facing a Mega Medicham team. And let's get this thing on the road. Oh, by the way, Fergie, the son of a bitch, brought the wrong team. He took this and he made a lot of changes to make the team significantly better. And then he brought the unchanged team, this son of a bitch did. He brought the unchanged team to the game by mistake. And, so if he loses this game, I'm going to kill him. That's the thing I got to say before all this to add a level of intrigue to it. A man is playing for his life right now. Because if he loses, I will destroy him. What I'm going to do is I'm gonna force feed him a bunch of Mentos, and then I'm gonna take a cement truck and just have Diet Coke poured into his mouth until he explodes from all the Mentos and Diet Coke. That's what's on the line here. So Pelipper will come in on the Heatran, which is gonna sub up. Fun fact, I actually had a sub Heatran on the mock, but mine was not the Nature Power, mine was actually the Gracium Z. But this is pretty interesting too with the Nature's Power. Heatran now is going to show the Gigavolt Havoc, because that is how Z Nature Power works. And I've got to say that's the first time I've ever seen a Heatran going for the Gigavolt Havoc, so first time for everything. Swampert's going to come in and of course force the thing out, knowing that it's going to go for Toxic on the Tangrowth. It'll then switch into the Ferrothorn. Mega Medicham comes in, making a good play predicting that, but Ferrothorn is Chobble Berry and is going to throw off a Gyro Ball, putting the thing in range of Spike. Golbat comes in, presumably to Defog, and it will do just that. Ferrothorn, knowing that, is just going to click Spikes itself. Golbat can continue to click it, but that would just let Ferrothorn get right back up to full, so they go to Heatran. Then into Coco on the Pelipper, which is going to take a ton from Skull. That thing's now... I'm not sure if it's in range of Spike. Only they know that, because based on the percentage, it could be either way. Hawlucha will come in. It's going to take down the Heatran. On Golbat, it's going to Swords Dance up as that thing is desperate to defog. Hawlucha is going to go for an Acrobatics and do shockingly little because Golbat is a monster. And then take the thing out with the second one. Medicham is going to fake out and then show to actually have the dual priority, which I also had in the mock. SpecsTar, the king of mocks. Pelipper will come in and U-turn. Swampert gets in. Earthquakes. Does some good damage to the Tangrowth. Pelipper will switch in as the thing goes for the Giga Drain. And Pelipper is going to go for a U-turn, potentially predicting the Muck, I imagine. Swampert's going to get a Brox as Tangrowth comes in on it for the 50 millionth time, it seems. Kingdra's going to come in on a Giga Drain. Go for Surf, predicting potentially Muck to come in, but I'm not sponsoring that play. I'm not sure why it went for Surf. The Dragon move of either Dragon Pulse or Draco Meteor would have done enough to the Muck that you did not need to click that. And Coco might even be in range of rocks already, so it's not like that was a threat to come in. But the Tangrowth, as a result, is going to get to knock off the thing's Specs, which is annoying. But it's going to decide to have Specs anyways. It crits with that Surf. Medicham comes in, and Vergi's going to go into Pelipper, which will dodge the Zen, but it's going to show to not matter as Medicham kills it again with the... Well, it goes for Zen again, and it kills it. Kingdra is going to go for an Ice Beam as Tangrowth comes in. Tangrowth is going to take the thing out with Giga Drain. Sure would have been nice to have those Specs, Vergi, but Swampert's going to go for a Waterfall and take down the Tangrowth because it flinched, which, you know what, that's rough, but it's less rough after watching Blitz versus Zazo. There's less guilt here. The Coco comes in. In the mock, I also had Scarf Grass, not Coco, by the way. Mock King, SpecsTar. Humble brag, you know what I'm saying. And Vergi will be able to win 1-0 based on that flinch after almost getting killed by me for not bringing the right team. Now the series is 3-3 going into our second game 7 of the season between iPro and Typhoon, Shiny Typhoon, aka Brendan, and this was our second shittiest of all the matchups we had, with, of course, H. Collins being the worst. I've heard from insider sources that their team was not even worried about this game because the matchup was so good, but, you know, we definitely thought we still had a chance to make a run for this game because, no offense to Typhoon, because he's not bad at all. We just thought that iPro was a more seasoned, experienced player, particularly going into a Game 7 with this kind of pressure. This old man's been through it again, here and again, so we thought that despite the matchup, he definitely had a shot to pull it out. And, well, let's see how it goes. Tornadus is the lead, and Registeel is going to go for Thunder Wave because it is Mental Herb, which he will knock off, and that would have allowed the thing to paralyze it if it did go for Taunt, which was the game plan. Bronzong's going to come in, and that's rocks for us. Sadol is going to switch out the Registeel into Skuntank, trying to get this thing with a Pursuit. Bronzong's going to stay in, but 2 Pursuits will take the thing out since it is a banded Skuntank, because of course it is. Chomp will come in, and iPro is going to go into Lander Syrian, but this thing is going to show to be banded Dragon Claw, which is doing some damage. And that'll take down the Skuntank. Suicune's going to come in on this thing, and Typhoon's got to fear the Ice Beam a little bit. But he's going to go into Tornadus, which is Assault Vest. And then iPro's going to bring in the Registeel on it. Torn will U-turn out and bring in the Garchomp on the Registeel. And we had nothing less valuable than Registeel, so that's a sack there. Drapeon's going to come in on the Alakazam as it unfortunately clicks Psychic, trying to kill the Garchomp in case it wanted to be too aggressive. But Drapeon's actually going to show to be Scarf, which is not the countermeasure to Alakazam we were expecting, and Zam is going to Barrier and then recover up. Tracing Battle Armor, which is nice. It'll go for a Psychic, but Quilladin's going to be Roar. Suicune will come in on that. Suicune didn't have much of a countermeasure for the Quilladin, so Infernape's going to come in. They're going to predict it well and go into the Diancie here, and iPro is going to actually sack off the Suicune here, believing that that was the weakest link. I'm not sure if it was. Either that or Zam, I guess, would have been, since the Nape and the Landers are needed for sure. Zam's going to go for, I believe, the Hidden Power Ground and take down the Diancie here. Drapions going to go for a Crunch and win the 50-50, where it could have clicked Crunch or Pursuit. They will win that 50-50, but this is going to be iPro's chance to go into Landers Therian, as if they're Jolly, it's a roll very much in our favor to take Crunch. Not sure what the roll is if they were Adamant, but this is our chance to potentially go for Rock Polish and maybe even Game. They go into the Tornadus here, and that is where we click Stone Edge, but we miss. Not good. No bueno. Yeah. That sucks, but, that's... Especially since that's the end of a 3-3 series. The Landers at that point in the game won, but, alas, such is Pokemon, right? As my boy Ian says, it's what happens in Pokemon. So, yeah, well, good series to our opponents regardless. It was a little shitty with the hacks, bunch of hacksy games, not just for them. Of course, there was the Vergy game for us. Not the way we wanted the series to go out, but when you play 7 games a week, that shit's going to happen. That shit's going to impact a bunch of games in a bunch of weeks. So, that's part of it. Unfortunately, as a team, we're going to move to 2-3, but according to my official source, who is my DM conversations with Mayo, we have a good chance to make playoffs if we win our last 2 weeks and we win 1 or more by a 5-2 margin. I'm not sure if the maths are right on that and if our odds would be that good, but I'm going to defer to my Australians. I know that Asian people are really good at math, and I know that Australia's a lot closer to Japan than America is. So I'd have to think that Australians are better at math than Americans, so most likely Mayo is right, and we do have a good shot if we win our last 2 games, but, well, all we can do is go out there and try to win as much as we can and see if that gets us where we need to be. And if you guys are still watching, 52 minutes and you are my hero. I love you. And I thank you guys for watching, all of you, even the ones who are not watching this right now. I'm speaking to you even though you're categorically not watching this and not hearing what I'm saying. I love you. Have yourselves a good night.